Well, hello, everybody. I know it was a little bit confusing. Some of you received an email from me because this was about like the winners of those who did a newsletter on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I know that some of you did it, like attempted to do a newsletter, and then it went up as a post, and I had that information. And then I know that there are other individuals in the group who just did a newsletter. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to open this all up. And because you are all, everybody in the group is a winner. I just want to say that. But, congratulations on everybody who attempted and created a LinkedIn newsletter. So today's call is like all about you. Like whatever questions anybody in the group has, you can share it with regards to your LinkedIn newsletter. Of course, I do have a gazillion links that are open. So everyone who is here already who has a LinkedIn newsletter, like I can easily do a shared screen and I've got all the tabs open. And I even have like my LinkedIn newsletter. So I put one out yesterday and I opened up my analytics. So if you all have any questions about your analytics, like feel free to ask. And I mean, as I was like preparing for this, because I'm doing an experiment right now, because usually my newsletters go out on a Saturday morning. And I was like, what would it be like if, if it goes out on a Monday? So there's a myth out there that on LinkedIn, you don't have Saturday's not the best day to share content. I like to share content because I think a lot of people have believe into that myth. And therefore, like the floor is all mine. So I share my LinkedIn newsletter, but I wanted to see what it was like. So I shared it on a Monday last week or the week before. And yesterday I was like, let me do it again on a Monday. But life is lifing. Summer camp is like non-existent. So there like things are going on. My daughter is upstairs and things like that. And I was like, you know what? I am just going to hit publish. And that LinkedIn newsletter went out at about 6:45 p.m. Because I'm also living in right now that's like not putting barriers up for myself. Because there's been times where just my content in general, I've missed the 9 a.m. window and I don't put it up like on various platforms. Anyways, that was my thing. I'm just doing an experiment right now, so I've got things open, and I've also have like a spreadsheet that I'm going to give a shout out to my VA Colleen for creating, and it'll show what I've done like after a newsletter goes out and the things that I have done so I can repurpose it. Everyone, enjoy your lunch. And Jody, I'm so glad you see my content on Saturdays. So that's my spiel. I'm gonna open the floor up like you guys have. We have an hour here. And I also have fillers if we go silent. So does anybody have any questions about their newsletter at all? Yes, Laura G.
I feel like my main question was sort of around format slash best practices, like in terms of what do people want to see in a LinkedIn newsletter, you know, like how, how many words, like how long do they, oh yeah, analytics too. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat now. Like just kind of what's going to make it the most successful possible for getting people to read it and get value out of it and potentially even share it or whatever.
Yeah. So your LinkedIn newsletter, like I used to just write newsletters in general and on LinkedIn because it's like, I think everybody wants to know this. But sometimes when we go by what we think everyone wants to know, it can get a little bit technical. And so, in terms of like my LinkedIn newsletter, and I think everyone else can follow this format, it's like, what are people asking when they get on a call with you? So, like maybe you've just booked a lead and they're telling you some of their problems that they're going through. And then all of those, like you can write a newsletter about it. So last week I met with a wonderful, they're all wonderful, but I met with this wonderful person and he was so excited about this. He has it's a computer program and he's wondering about selling it to toy stores or creating something on his own. And he had his son there, and his son was like doing it, and his son was so excited. And I mean, he booked a call a month and a half ago and just kept on moving it because he was pretty busy. But his problem, so one of the questions I ask in my lead form is like, what are you not getting from LinkedIn right now that you would like to get? What is the thing that you are going through? So then that way I can prepare for the call. And he said that whenever I put out what it is that I do, people always tell me they don't understand. So I went to his Instagram. I saw his stuff on LinkedIn. I went to his YouTube because I always ask, like, do you have a website so I can go and do my research? And I'm watching and I'm seeing his enthusiasm. And I kind of understand what it's about, but I'm kind of like, I don't know what problem this solves. So, anyways, his son is 7 years old and was showing me about how you can also do these manual things and also do these other things. And then I said to him, this is amazing. And I was able to understand. And so I also had some ideas about how it could be shown on social. But I said to him, what problem does it solve? And he goes, that's exact face. That's a good question. And then I told him, he told me basically like it's a music program and kids are listening to the music and then they put things in color and they can use a keyboard, they can use a mouse, or they can use these live, it looks like kind of like a mock Lego thing. And so I said to him, well, I'm watching it and I'm thinking not only is it good for learning a language, like learning a new language, but I'm also thinking that for people who are trying to find an app, like I tried to use Duolingo during the pandemic, hate it. Like I just can't use Duolingo. It's an app to learn another language. And I would always fall off the wagon. But I said I would do this because I'm doing things with my hands. I would probably do it more than like using that option. And I also said it's great for kids who are struggling to use a language. So then parents could say, my child is struggling to learn. For him, he's Jewish. My kids are struggling to learn Hebrew. My kids are struggling to learn French. And also, there was a way of reading the colors. So each color would, like red would always be the word the or another word. So each color would be two or three words. And I said, it's a great way to learn how to read. And he's like, oh, you're right. So like I was telling him this as a parent. He goes, that's also so good. So we like the call. He's holding a proposal right now. But, I said to him that if you're not able to share with people, like what this is for. So not even what this is for, but what problems will it solve? So back to you. People want to know about like what problems. So can you tell me again what your first newsletter title was, Laura G?
I think it was what to do when the banks say no, which was a
Yes.
repurposed blog anyways.
Right. So, I mean, I was immediately drawn to it. I haven't approached a bank for a loan, but I think about it all the time. And I've even like gone to the teller and I asked a question about what does it take to set up an appointment? So, I mean, for entrepreneurs, I know that that is like money is a problem in terms of like the economy, or maybe their business is seasonal. And so for you, like that was a really great topic. And I think your last one was Pinterest or not. And I thought that that was really great because often we wonder, is Pinterest really good to be on it? Or we're wondering, do we need to be there? And Clarissa, yours was about like handling complaints. Like you know the exact title, but it was, would you mind saying what the title is? I'm putting you on the spot. Oh, you're on mute.
Honestly, I don't remember what the title was. I think maybe the hidden difference between a complaint and a criticism. So basically
Correct.
teaching people how to express their frustration without criticizing their partner.
Right. So right away, that title. So the problem, and also can that problem show up in the title? Because, and I've told you why it spoke to me is that I didn't know that there was a difference. Like if I'm complaining about some, or maybe I'm just verbalizing something, but it's coming off as being a complaint versus something else.
Mm-mm.
So yeah. So what I'm saying is that what is a great topic are the problems, and where can you get these problems whenever you meet with people, like when people get on that call with you. Yeah. Oh, so I'm going to go to the chat. Did you have anything else to add on to that, Laura Jean?
Well, I did have the other questions that were kind of like part of it was any best practices in terms of formatting or word count, or like does sort of and maybe this is just like formulas that um, aren't really as valid as I think they should be or whatever. But, if there's a formula of like, like 3 tips to blah, 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 and then boom, 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 and then conclusion, and there you go, there's your newsletter. Partially, I'm looking for sort of a template to write it easier. And also just to know, like if I know that 400 words and 3 bullet point tips or whatever is kind of like the ideal format, that helps me because otherwise I just go wandering into this story and that story and this other amazing thing that just popped into my head. And I don't really have a structure for it. And I just kind of hope that people will like it.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. So, with the LinkedIn newsletter, I like to go a little bit long. So, my LinkedIn newsletters are about 350 to 400 words because I also know that people are going can find it on Google. So when people are on Google and they're looking to solve their pain points, I want them to be able to find like see the problems in there that it speaks to them and that also it's answering them. So what I do is I write out my newsletter, like I write it out. And before, when I used to write it out, I would just kind of write it as best as I could, like on my phone, like making sure I'm putting things in the right spot. And now the way I do it is that I know I want to write about the fact that somebody had a difficult time, um, having his service connect with people. And so I just kind of shared what happened on the call, without using his name, without using the product or the service. And then I said to him, what problem do you solve? And then I asked him what this is. And then I said to him, this. So I have like quite a bit there. And then he was like, wow, that's amazing. You have some really great questions. And then I have, some prompts in there that I want to end with a strong call to action. And maybe that strong call to action is going to say that I have a few spots left. So I just put in some like easy ones. And then I say to chat to, and, please create it to be like my usual newsletters of anywhere 2,200 to 2,300 characters. That's, yeah, 2,200 to 2,300 characters. I leave it at that. And then I put in some other things like, please don't have it look so AI-like. So I find like there's a lot of posts that look very AI, where there's a lot of white space. So I say, please write it like a blog. Sometimes I'll say no M dashes. But I don't mind some M dashes because I think they create feeling, but sometimes chat will have like a lot in there. And then there's some other sentences that I've caught because I noticed that the content that I would get together, I'm like, oh, but in the last post we had, but here's the thing, right? So there's some typical things in there. So I put in those other things. And then it makes it and it says, here it is. This is approximately 2,140 characters. It says everything. And I read through. And, one of my prompts is that, I mean, I remind it of who I am and about I'll say like a slightly cynical sense of humor. And when I read through, I'm like, ooh, that sounds too mean, right? But yeah, so that's the format that I do it in. I make it long form so that when it gets found on Google, I don't say if anymore. When it gets found on Google, then people are going to find it. It's also going to pull up those keywords in SEO. I write it blog form, and some of the things that I do say is please put this in a like problem with answer so that it states what the problem is. And then it also shares like an answer and it could do it like in three ways. So I hope that answers that for you. And lastly, to finish it off, I put something at the bottom. So I'll put a dividing line at the bottom that gives a blurb about who I am. Did I answer all your questions? Good, awesome. Okay, well, I know that some came up in the chat, so let me see here. Hello, Paige. Nice to see you.
Hi. Thanks.
Hi. So, Jody, I would love to hear more about analytics. So, I'm going to go into a screen share and Brooke about how to use and reuse a post. Okay, my screen share will be good. And I don't want to lose track, so I'll read yours after. Okay, so let me do a shared screen. So Paige, for this is for everyone who wrote a LinkedIn newsletter. And if you have a question, you can just put it into the chat. But I have like a lot of screens here, and everyone who was invited to come on this call, like I do have the screens open to the LinkedIn newsletters. Of course, I won't be able to see the analytics. So let me just. I'm in the slow spot here. Sorry. I think you guys right now can see the word Zoom.
Yeah, it just says you've started screen sharing.
Okay.
I don't see anything yet.
Okay, it's coming up. Okay, so I do have a screen open to my analytics. My apologies that this is taking a bit of time. I see it says analytics in the browser. So I'll just start speaking as it comes up. So in my analytics or in the analytics for a LinkedIn newsletter, one of the things that it shows is how many email sends, because I think I'm just going to move to the other side of the table. Oh, okay. Do we see some analytics here? Excellent. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so here's the back end of my LinkedIn analytics. And this is for a post that was shared, I think maybe in 3 months ago. This was all in on LinkedIn, but are you ignoring your email list? So here are the impressions. The impression 644. How many times did this come up in front of individuals? And I mean, I have at that time, I had over 500 subscribers, but this reached 238 members. Like these are people who are online and things like that. This one was posted on a Saturday. And from my LinkedIn analytics, like one of the things I started to check more often, even on my posts, is like how many people actually decided to check out my profiles. So that's going to be one of the things that's going to be very important to me, not just like the amount of engagement, but how many people went to my profile from this newsletter. And then my performance here. It was 325 article views. So 325 people actually went to the email and email sends. So some people, they have it where they can get a notification that they can get a notification in their actual email that this person actually launched a newsletter or shared a newsletter. And then the email open rate. So I'm like, yay, that's pretty great, 42%. And then here are the reactions. So we know these reactions like the likes or the thumbs up, the comments on there. The comments include my own. And then the demographics. So these demographics are they what you want to see? So if you are somebody who can work across Canada, then these are going to be good for you. You want to take a look to see, is it just the people in my location? Because for the most part, like you'll have a lot of people initially, and definitely like maybe in the first like few months, maybe even a year in your location, because the people who a lot of people who are following you have been following you for quite some time, and maybe they were the ones who decided to subscribe to your newsletter. So things that I want to see moving for my analytics is that I want to see more people go to my profile views. I want to increase my article views and the email sends, but email sends can't quite control that because that depends on what the settings individuals have. Of course, I want to have great reactions. With my content on LinkedIn, I would love to see like reposts and then the demographics, because if I'm an individual and I can work across Canada or I can work across like North America, then I want to start seeing these move. So one of my clients, she is somebody who is in Ottawa and she can work like across Canada. So one of the things that we wanted to see for her demographics on LinkedIn was that we wanted to see more people in other provinces. So it was really great when we would see Manitoba. Manitoba wasn't there. And then Manitoba was like a 3%. We're like, yay, we're starting to see people there. And then also employees. So company size. So for me, it was like, if this was larger, 1 to 10 employees, I would say, yes, this is really great. And now I'm totally fine when I see 11 to 50 employees, like that one's growing because I'm looking for opportunities where I can do workshops in an organization or in a company. So this is where I want to see these numbers change in specific areas in terms of company size. And then, of course, like these are the locations and then the individuals. So, I mean, I work with a lot of individuals who are entrepreneurs. So they are going to fall as the business owner or in a senior role. Um, have some entry level because I know that there are some individuals who have connected with me and they're starting in digital marketing. And then we have all of these other people like director and VP. So think about like when you're taking a look at your overall analytics for LinkedIn, they should be kind of similar to what you see here. And you should kind of see them going in the right direction. If they're not going in the right direction, then your content if they're not going in the right direction, that means you are looking to get in front of the eyes of individuals who are this type of seniority, who work at organizations that are this large. Or, if they're employees, it's going to be 1 to 10, which could be a-okay. And they might be only in Greater Toronto area, but maybe you work across North America. So these are other indicators that you might have to write different types of content. So Jody, you asked a question about the analytics. Do you have any questions about this or anything that you've seen on your end?
Yeah, thank you for showing this because I'm actively looking at mine right now. And what's interesting that I'm noticing, so I was just looking back at my last newsletter, the analytics there, and I'm noticing there's quite a few like career development professionals that are checking out my profile. So that's quite interesting. It's gotten me thinking now, I'm like, is there room for me to do something else with this? Audience because I've been noticing a lot more career counselors trying to connect with me as well too. So maybe there's something there. I'm just kind of thinking out loud right now.
Yeah. So thinking about that client who is in Ottawa, and um, she does grant writing for Canadian nonprofits, and she was also seeing, so she had more organizations who were following her, which was great, but she also saw that she had other grant writers. And what she did with that was that she created a grant writing course. So, mind
Mm.
you, this is not about like what are shiny objects, right? But
Yeah.
she saw that there was an opportunity where she could also like, what is it I can do? And what ended up happening was that she started to have people, she put it out there to see if it's going to stick. It was organized. She made something very simple and easy, and she had people register. So she did know that she had other grant writers, but then she's like, because then she took a look at their profile. And so you kind of see, like whenever I am looking at other individuals' profiles, and that's how I'm able to determine if they might need some help with LinkedIn. And then I could go in and do some other things.
That totally makes sense. So yeah, I saw Brooke, you just sent me a comment there. Yeah, I think that's the next step. Asking them why are they following and connecting with me? Is it more of a collaboration piece or is it more looking to learn something from me? So
Right. And then, like you
Mhm.
said, it could be a very good indication that you might have to change your messaging a little bit.
Yes.
Especially if you are finding that the individuals who could be your target audience are not reaching out as much,
Mhm.
or maybe they're reaching out like you were happy with the amount of times they were reaching out last month, and you're like, you know what? I'd like more people to reach out. So I need to
Yeah,
have something that really hits home.
makes sense. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Did I answer all your questions there?
Yes.
Okay, and if you have more, put them in the chat, no problem. Brooke, I know that you had one. I just have to go back to it. So,
Amazing. And it's more, I think part of what my question is a little bit of, how is each one truly different in LinkedIn? And then how do you integrate them, if that makes sense?
right. Okay, so let me go to my LinkedIn newsletter. We'll talk about the difference. So, yes, what is the difference between that and a basic post? So, your LinkedIn newsletter, when you first launch a LinkedIn newsletter, it lets all of your connections know. So, that's the very first time, the very first one that you launch. And then after that, so it's like everybody, all if you've got 5,000 connections and followers, it's letting everybody know. And then after that, whenever you do share a LinkedIn newsletter, it goes up to the top of the notifications and it kind of stays up there for a while. So if I see that Jody has published a LinkedIn newsletter or Paige has, I've checked. I keep on going back and I see other things like happening at the bottom, but it'll show Paige at the top for a while. Right. So that's the difference with the LinkedIn newsletter. As well with the LinkedIn newsletter, unlike a post on LinkedIn, when you send out a connection request to somebody on LinkedIn and then they accept, then they're going to get a notification. Would you like to subscribe to Brooke's newsletter? If you, and then if so that's if you send out a connection request. Let me do this again. If somebody sends you a connection request, and you are out and about, you're at the grocery store, or it's your day to disconnect. So they've sent you a connection request and you haven't responded back yet, they're going to get a notification. Would you like to subscribe to Brooke's newsletter? And I really love that because I mean, sometimes I don't accept everybody's connection requests. And then when I take a look, I can see that this person that I didn't accept, they've subscribed. So maybe they'll reach out later, but I don't always accept because it's not always a great fit. So that's if they set me. And then, yeah, so anytime there's an opportunity for somebody to connect, so like on the other end, Brooke, if you were to connect with with Bridget. And Bridget had a newsletter and she hasn't accepted yet. You're going to get the notification. So now she's able to grow it. And now to click into the newsletter to show you the other things. So I mean, now they are sharing this stuff with regards to our posts. We're getting some more information. And then another thing that you can see with the LinkedIn newsletter is that you are able to see who are the individuals who have subscribed. And when you're able to see who has subscribed to your LinkedIn newsletter, now you can make some decisions based on that. So let me go to the top. It's going to go to another page. Okay, so it shows me that your LinkedIn newsletter is showing you how many subscribers, like it shows you as well that you are subscribed. So I'm going to click on 649 subscribers. I hope I'm in the right spot. And it's sharing with me that I'm growing my subscribers in the past seven days. So I'm going to click on the subscribers here. Oh, oh, here we go. So here's my LinkedIn newsletter. I'm seeing the job titles as well, people who are founders, and then these are the individuals, and it's being shown in order of recency. So Brenda, I'm like, yay, by the way, because Brenda, I was introduced to her last week via email and then we connected. So I'm like, great. Um, and so she has subscribed to my newsletter. This individual here. So Brenda's a first connection, but look, Chef Gina, she has subscribed. So she's somebody who I'm not connected to. Anybody who's a first connection, I'm actually connected to. Chef Gina, she's a second connection, meaning that she's connected to somebody I am already connected to. And she has subscribed to my newsletter. So I can go in and I could take a look at her profile and then I go be like, could she be somebody who could be a great future client or a collaborator? Do any of my offers fit her? Is it great to be in her sphere? So now, like, we already have this trust because she's following my LinkedIn newsletter. If I were to go to her profile and send her a connection request, because I think here it's just going to have me follow her. And maybe I want to just follow her, or maybe I want to send a connection request, but there's a greater chance she's going to accept my connection request because she's already warmed up to me. So the LinkedIn newsletter kind of gets you in front of more people. And then sometimes I see with LinkedIn that somebody is a third connection. So like this person here, not my ideal client, but she's a third. So maybe there's somebody from an organization who maybe I can connect to so I can ask them about whether or not they would be interested in a workshop. And they're a third connection. So that means they're not connected to anybody. There's no connection. But to me, I'm like, aha, you probably warmed up to me. So now I can go to their profile. I can get to know them. Maybe I'll do something, I'll take it a little slow. I'll just follow their profile for a bit and then I'll engage. And then, like a week from now or a few days from now, I could send them a connection request. And because they're subscribed to my LinkedIn newsletter, they're more inclined to accept. Often, when somebody's a third connection, there's a bigger chance that they will not accept your connection request. So this stuff here are like decisions you're not really able to make from the from your posts. And to me, I can even start a conversation. Like I could say, so this person here, she sent me a connection request last week, and I thanked her. Like, thanks so much for connecting. So if she's my ideal client, I could go back and message her and say, hey, hi Talia, thanks so much, or thanks for checking out my newsletter. What do you think? Like, did I hit the mark? Or maybe not make it so much about me, but I can ask them a question and then I can start a conversation that way. So I'll leave it to you, Brooke. Any questions or anything to add?
My speaker just, my headphone just died. No, I think this part is making a lot of sense. And so what is then the difference in terms of use and format between the newsletter versus like the long form article, which I'm more familiar with than the newsletter?
Oh,
And
so
then,
you mean like the LinkedIn article?
yeah, and then how do you, and also the post, like how do you integrate these things or use like strategically, how would or when would you use each one? Like I'm getting the newsletter and I'm understanding why it's so powerful, but it's also different from an article, which I think is also searchable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your LinkedIn article can also show up on Google. However, you're able to see subscribers to your LinkedIn newsletter, so you can take these actions. And also with your LinkedIn article, it's in terms of the notifications, it goes up like a regular post. So maybe it'll show up in the notifications, maybe it won't. When you create that very first LinkedIn newsletter, it notifies everybody who you're connected to. So those are those bonuses there with the LinkedIn newsletter versus the article. But your LinkedIn article, it's still, you can do it. Still, I treated my LinkedIn articles and went long form as well. Mhm. And then, so thank you very much for repeating the question. I'm so excited that I forget. So let's go to the page that I have open. So this is something that I've asked my VA to do, but it's something that's very easy. So I take that LinkedIn newsletter and I repurpose it. So what we do when I repurpose it, we will put it into a folder in Google Drive, and then we will create our newsletters that go out on Monday via email. So we will use ChatGPT and we'll say here, please take this and turn it into two newsletters, and these newsletters must be so many characters and they must sound completely different from each other so that when I'm sending it out on Monday, somebody doesn't say, wait a second, this was the exact same thing that I got before. And also, please have this call to action. So I will switch out the call to actions, or usually my call to actions are to book a call or to hit reply. So here we go. So we created a spreadsheet because I have like quite a few newsletters and we're repurposing. So what we do with the LinkedIn newsletter is not only does it become a newsletter to go out on Mondays, it also it also shows up as a blog on my website. And on my website, I will fool around with it a little bit, because on the website, so it shows up for SEO, there's like headers and like making things as a header, or I might like change the title a little bit. But so we just created this spreadsheet. So for instance, here we go. Let me scroll down. Um, let's see. Let's see. Um, okay, let me just go. So we have different tabs here. So for instance, here's a LinkedIn newsletter, Entrepreneurial Freedom, be careful for what you wish for. That one I just talked about like I just realized that I want, like, I notice I'm busy, but things are a bit scattered, and that was what that post was about. So it was linked here, and then what we did is that Colleen, so my VA's Colleen, she takes that and then she plans out the newsletters that are going to go out on a Monday. And so these are all Monday dates, for instance. So we have like what the subject is going to be. And then she also like has it. I don't look at these documents, but she has already organized herself and she has put the newsletter in there. And like this is something that I decided to let go. And so she creates the newsletter that goes out on Monday. And I still want to take a look at it. So she'll send it to me as a test. And then when I see it as a test, then I might edit the title, or I might like edit the words, or sometimes often it's like a-okay. Or sometimes I want to have fun with it. And I'll say, can you put a GIF in it? Like, how about this one? Because something that might, but she's kind of getting my personality and she'll put something in there. So she will just put in the newsletter topics, but we create two newsletters out of it. And another thing that we do is that we create our LinkedIn content out of it. So I have given her control um, over I want to like rejuvenate or revive my LinkedIn company page, but I want it to look a little bit different. So I said, you know what the brand looks like? And so she's making the graphics for it. So if you went to my company page, Boswell-Buck Creative, you'll see the graphics. A lot of them don't have me in it. They have what my ideal clients look like. I told her that I want a certain type of like font in there. So she creates the LinkedIn posts, and then she shares content to my company page like 3 times a week. And then we are also updating my Google Business with that. So Google Business, there's a button that you can have where it's like learn more, and it takes people to my contact page on my website. And then also, like I said, she's creating content. So those are the different things that we are doing with like in terms of repurposing.
So if I'm following this correctly, you have a LinkedIn newsletter. You then have that newsletter rewritten into two sub newsletters
Right.
that then because the one on LinkedIn's every second week, and then your email ones are the two that week, and then the week after in between,
And I make them shorter.
and they're shorter. Okay, and then and those go out in your email, like your normal email subscribers.
Correct.
And then you have that same topic will be then used as a blog. So the original newsletter on LinkedIn then gets re-graphic, I'll say, reformatted.
Yeah, pretty much copy
Contents,
and paste.
yeah, the content's the same, but then formatted appropriately for web as a blog on your website. So then you're blogging every other week. And then you also then have those newsletters, the newsletters then rewritten into, let's say, 3 blog posts that you use on your company LinkedIn. And then
Well,
I know you modify it slightly for Instagram as well.
yeah, so the newsletters we try to create, and maybe the prompts are not the right ones. I try to create 3 social media posts from each LinkedIn newsletter, and then I always found like one was really watered down. So we just create two, and then so those will go up, and they will go up on my company page, or they will go up on my Google Business, but they're totally fine if you want to use them for a regular LinkedIn post, because not everybody would have seen the newsletter. For me, with my with for me, like that's something that I'll do for my clients, but for me, I usually like write everything from my head, and it's what I'm feeling. Like the other day was like somebody's tried to scam me, or right? So those are always a little bit different.
Okay, that's a lot of rewriting. And then for the articles, are they then sort of as ad hoc when you would write an article on LinkedIn?
I schedule myself, so I don't do the LinkedIn articles anymore. Once I found out about the newsletters, I stopped doing the
Stuck with
LinkedIn
that?
articles
Okay.
because it shares the LinkedIn newsletters and alerts to everybody. And in terms of the rewriting, like again, I'm using AI to use my voice, and then I just review it. There's not a whole lot of work done unless I'm promoting something, and then I'll change it a little bit more so that it aligns. But I'm working like we're working smarter by taking this content that is what a lot of people are very interested in learning about. Like people are like, why isn't my content working? Well, so yesterday's LinkedIn newsletter was that if people don't understand, if it's like if you have a problem sharing like what it is that you do, it's a problem, right? Yeah.
And then, sorry, last question. So then for your 3 LinkedIn posts, those are really on your company page. And then do you also post them on your personal LinkedIn profile, or do you just repost them?
No, so what goes up on
Neither.
what goes up on my company page, if you were to go to it, it
Yeah.
kind of sounds a lot different than what you see on my profile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, you're welcome. Clarissa, do you want to tell me what your question is?
Yeah, so my question is basically on LinkedIn, my audience is different from my actual audience. So um my actual audience are millennial moms who are looking for relationship support or postpartum or pregnancy support. On LinkedIn, my audience are people who support the moms, right? Because I wouldn't be connecting with my actual clients on LinkedIn. So I think my question is more about should I write the news article specific to the specific industry? Like, I do collaborate a lot with doctors, pelvic floor physio, other allied health professionals, or other therapists, or should I make it a little bit more general? I think the first newsletter I wrote is a little bit more general, but I can also see the potential of saying something like I don't know, if you're a doula supporting moms postpartum, when you do the checkup, this is what you notice. You can I don't know. So I'm just trying to think about if I should go more general or specific.
I think you can go specific.
Mm-mm-mm. Okay.
Yeah. So the audience that you want to attract,
Mm.
and it would be a great idea to be more specific.
Okay.
Oh, I
That's
hope I'm
helpful.
not going to lose everybody. I'm just going to switch over to my phone. Ah, is everybody hearing me still?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Um, yeah, so Clarissa, I would definitely go like when I worked with a client, and so she's a psychotherapist,
Mm.
and yeah, so she's a psychotherapist, and she's able to fill her practice with Instagram. But in terms of like connecting with individuals so that she can have those speaking opportunities, she needs to be able to speak about specific things that
Mm.
these organizations would be interested in, and that's
Mm-mm.
going to be impactful in as well as if she's like holding a workshop. So she
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
be speaking about, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's like kind of exactly what I'm doing on Instagram. I'm very active there, focusing on like supporting couples, and I do get.
Okay. I no longer panic. Okay, so thank you everybody for waiting. So yeah, so I was saying that yeah, share the LinkedIn newsletters
Mm.
um for that audience that you want to attract.
Mm. Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I gotta have to consider which audience to pick because I do collaborate with multiple people, but I think thus so far most referrals do come from other psychologists and therapists. So perhaps I could start with that. I don't know. I have to think about it.
Yeah, and you know what? Like your newsletters, maybe you can your newsletters could be for a specific audience, but then the posts, because you're showing up consistently.
Mm.
So the posts that you have, they are they're being shared to the different audiences.
Mm, mm, mm.
So like just think of it as you are hitting your different audiences.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
That's good to know. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I was gonna jump in and say, Clarissa, I said something in the chat as well
Oh,
too.
sorry, I didn't see.
So even if your your specific topic didn't resonate with a certain audience, they might think of someone else that they can share your content to as well
True.
too. I know I've seen this and I was like, oh, like I have this person in mind and I can just easily just share it. So it is shareable content no matter what.
True, true. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Paige, do you have anything?
This has been really helpful. I went in and was checking out analytics too while you were, and I've also kind of taken a pause, but uh, yeah, I'm excited to get back in. I'm doing finishing up my freebie, and then this is a good opportunity to write a newsletter and offer that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool to go into the individual newsletters too, which I hadn't done, and check out some of the analytics as you were walking us through it.
Oh, great. And I want to say a page like your title here, I like it. It's really good for I think it's something that people would be searching for. Like I'm on the one that says sore post workouts, five
Okay.
surprising things to try. So like you put the problem right in there
Yeah.
and then you're like, and I've got the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I actually too went in and SEO'd one of them after since you
Yeah.
showed us how. So I'm going to start doing that. And you're also inspiring me to update my blogs on my website, which have been sadly neglected. So I can go back and just put some of my previous material into the website.
Right, right. Awesome.
And I
Clarissa,
like your idea about making the two not sound at all alike when you go into ChatGPT. So if there is someone in your like actual newsletter and then in your LinkedIn newsletter that it's like they get bonus content.
yeah. Sometimes people who have liked my newsletter, they respond to my Monday newsletter like this was really great. But again, it was shorter and I make it more like problem focused. And then here's a tip. That's how my Mondays go. And also with my LinkedIn newsletter, like yesterday, I loved my title. Like Chat and I were like back and forth with it. And I didn't really love it. And then I put in well, how about this one? Well, I didn't say how about this one, but I put, if your messaging is a problem, that's a problem. And it wrote back, which is a little scary. That's perfect. It sounds like you. It's cheeky. However, I know it's not searchable. It's not
Oh,
findable. So, what I did for that newsletter is that I created in the SEO. So, for your SEO, you go into like settings, and I made a different title. So, what I did was, what I tend to do is I will put in the problem in Google, like we have done that on a call, put the call in Google, and then I was just taking a look for different titles. And sometimes like some other articles or Forbes is using a title that I really like. I just use the same title or I use it and I tweak it a bit. So because I knew that my title wasn't going to like be easily found on Google. So there's a tip there for everybody if you want to like just take a look at like do some research on what your titles are so that when
yeah.
somebody is looking on Google, they're going to want to click through to your LinkedIn newsletter.
Cool. I also wondered if you're open to sharing in the chat or the email after the prompt that you say so that, one newsletter on LinkedIn is different from the one on
Oh yeah.
with your
Yeah, I
other
can
audience.
I will organize it. So give me a couple of days, a day or
Yeah,
two.
no worries, no worries.
Yeah, so
I
just
mean,
so I
I'm
can
sure I can
organize it.
figure it
Yeah.
out, but so you basically say make it sound different, and the one of your original emailed audience is shorter. Is that right?
Yeah, I make it shorter. Like I said, my VA does them, and so I can read them, and I can just visually see something's too short. And I word counter is my friend as well. I will, because sometimes I'll tell chat to help extend this to 2,200 characters, and I scan through and I'm like, this looks short. And I either check or I just call it out. Like, this looks shorter. And they're like, you're right. This is 1,600 characters. Um, but for me, like, I don't like to go long in my Monday morning newsletters because I know that people are getting hit with a lot of newsletters. That's
Yeah.
just something, a story I say in my head about whether or not people will want to read. But I also want people to feel like they get great value so that they'll open up the next newsletter where I
Right.
might be promoting something.
And do I recall correctly that for your LinkedIn one, you say 3,000 characters? Is that right?
So I used to do 2,500 characters, and that was for one that was done in January, and I read it and I was like, yeah, that's too long. Let's not do this again
Oh,
in my head. So I find the sweet spot for me is it's like 2,200 characters because I know that. So back to Laura, when I think about my formatting, I know that I want to put out the problem and then I want to share some solutions. And then I want to talk a little bit of myself because what we do here at Boswell-Buck Creatives, we do this. So I need
okay.
space for that. And then I need space for a call to action. And if
Okay.
I go shorter, something's going to get lost in there.
So the 2,200 is for LinkedIn newsletters,
My LinkedIn newsletter.
and you just say shorter. You don't give a specific number for your Monday.
I believe it, but I will double check. My Monday newsletter is probably 550 characters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thanks for the guidance.
Yeah, you're welcome. So it's 2:01, but if anybody has any additional questions, I'm happy to ask. I'm hoping that so I'm watching my computer. It said that it saved it. And I've never done this with my phone, but I will see if I can get it all together. And then I will put it up. I'm going to make this accessible for everyone in the group. And if anyone has any more questions, and if you have other questions, by all means, put them in the group and I will answer them in the group. No problem.
Thank
This
you.
was so fabulous, Dee. Thank you
Oh,
for answering all the questions. Yeah, really detailed, really appreciated.
you're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Bye. I'll see you in the group. Take care, everyone.